As part of this, we need to stop regarding shame as a relic of a distant past or as something that only prevails in so-called shame cultures. More than this, we need to recognize that shame is being made to serve important political and economic functions in the Western world, as well as elsewhere. Shame is not just a personal matter, a family dynamic, a legacy from a troubled childhood, or the currency of two people slugging it out on the street or online. It is also deeply political. In particular, I am interested in the way that shame is instrumentalized. I want to explore its functions and its role in relation to large-scale human suffering. In part, this interest came out of my long-standing work on conflicts and humanitarian disasters. Since the 1980s, I've been investigating famines and civil wars, and I've had a special interest in the functions of phenomena, including famines and wars, that might at first glance seem only negative and dysfunctional. This evolving interest arose out of research in Sudan, Sierra Leone, Iraq, Guatemala, Serbia, Sri Lanka, and the Turkey-Syria border, and I've also researched disasters closer to my home in the UK, like the so-called jungle camp in France that was part of a hostile environment designed to deter migrants. I found that these catastrophes generally serve important purposes, sometimes political, sometimes economic. No matter how much suffering has occurred, it has always been instructive to ask, who benefits? Or in the Latin version, cui bono? Such practical benefits, moreover, have often been facilitated by a profound manipulation of shame. Whether at a personal or political level, it would be a mistake to suppose that shame itself, for all its negative effects, is purely dysfunctional. For many influential actors, shame may be not so much a problem as an opportunity. Like other emotions, shame is not simply an escape or a retreat from rational projects, like the pursuit of power and money. Rather, shame has been integrated into the political economies that produce it and are in turn reinforced by it. While it would surely be difficult to find a time when shame did not play a major role in politics, today it does seem that shame is playing an especially important role in some very disturbing political processes. Even as we begin to realize the intimate connection between shame and major social and political problems, however, a contrasting, perhaps even an opposite, concern begins to loom into view. This is the problem of shamelessness. From Trump in the United States to Johnson in the UK, from Bolsonaro in Brazil to Duterte in the Philippines, from Modi in India to Salvini and Meloni in Italy, from Orbán in Hungary to Putin in Russia and many more, we have seen a series of leaders who seem to possess the quality of shamelessness in spades. Indeed, some of these leaders appear to be quite beyond shame or even embarrassment. The problem, from this perspective, is not that our politics exhibits too much shame, but too little. If we go back to Google Books, we find that the use of the word shameless follows a rather similar trajectory to the word shame. It falls until around 1980 and then rises sharply. What then is the relationship between these two apparently contradictory modern phenomena? On the one hand, what appears to be a destructive epidemic of shame and shaming, and on the other, a perhaps equally destructive epidemic of shamelessness. Why have these concepts become so salient and so prominent? How do shame and shamelessness relate to each other, and is it possible to move toward political habits that are more productive? One factor that seems to be severely limiting our understanding of counterproductive and dangerous political processes, and the role of shame within them, is the so-called rational actor model, the assumption that people will rationally pursue their own interests. This assumption has been part of why many analysts have recoiled in horror and incomprehension when groups of people appear to act against their own interests. At times, it's as if a world of careful calculations has succumbed to a world gone mad. A commonly cited puzzle here is support for Trump and for the UK's Brexit process from people who appear to have little to gain and much to lose.